أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم وفقنا وسائر المشتغلين للعلم والعمل الصالح بحق محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam said, chiding a boy in his childhood leads to an increase in his intellect as an adult. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله عرامة الصبي في صغره زيادة في عقله في كبره. عرامة الصبي في صغره زيادة في عقله في كبره. With Islamic laws, we reach to the sixth condition, is that parts of the body on which wudu is performed should be tahir at the time of washing and wiping. That means the face, the two hands, the front part of the head, and the upper part of your foot should be tahir when you are washing or wiping. It should be tahir. It shouldn't be najis. This is in normal situation, in normal cases. While if it is in abnormal cases, just like of being sick, of if there is a wound and so on, here we have something else. We have another rules to deal with. Inshallah, we'll take it, all of it. Issue number 282. If the place which has been already washed or wiped in wudu becomes mutanajjis before the completion of the wudu, it will be deemed valid. It will be deemed valid. That like what? Like if I'm washing my left hand, then before I finish my wudu, it becomes mutanajjis. It becomes mutanajjis. That means this hand becomes mutanajjis after I washed it. After I washed it. Then my wudu is what? Is valid, is in order. Why? Because it becomes mutanajjis after, not before performing wudu. Not before performing wudu. If the place which has been already washed or wiped in wudu becomes mutanajjis before the completion of wudu, it will be deemed valid. That means the wudu will be valid. Do you have a question? No question? Issue number 283. If any other part of the body other than the parts of wudu is mutanajjis, the wudu will be in order. The wudu will be in order. However, if the outlet of urine or excretion have not been made tahir, the recommended precaution is that one should make them tahir first and then perform wudu. Other parts of the body, if they are not tahir before performing wudu, it means that not the parts which should be washed or wiped in wudu, they become mutanajjis before ablution. No, the other parts. In this case, the wudu will be valid. The wudu will be valid. But if the outlet of the excretion or the outlet of the urine, they were mutanajjis before wudu, they should make it what? They should make it tahir first. They should make it, the mukallaf, they should make it tahir first and then to make ablution. This because the outlets of the urine and the outlets of the excretion is something different than the other bodies. This najasa is different. This najasa is different. If any other part of the body other than the parts of wudu is mutanajjis, the wudu will be in order. However, if the outlet of urine or excretion have not been made tahir, the recommended precaution is that one should make them tahir first and then perform wudu. Issue number 284. If any one part of wudu was mutanajjis, any one part of wudu was mutanajjis, and after performing wudu, one doubts whether he washed it before wudu or not. Here what do we have? We have knowledge it was mutanajjis. We have knowledge it was mutanajjis. Now we perform wudu. And after performing wudu, we doubt whether this part becomes tahir or not. You understand what I'm saying? If any one part of wudu was mutanajjis and after performing wudu, one doubts whether he washed it before wudu or not, his wudu will be valid, but he should wash the part which was mutanajjis. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. His wudu is what is valid, but he should what? He should wash the mutanajjis part. He should wash the mutanajjis part. Issue number 285. If a person has a cut or wound on his face or hands, and the blood from this cut or wound does not stop, and if water is not harmful for him, the blood is not stopping, and if water is not harmful for him, that means to wash it, it is not harmful for what? For the cut or wound. He should, after washing the healthy parts, of that limb in a proper sequence, put the place of wound or cut in cold water or running water, and press it a little so that the blood may stop. Then he should pass his finger on the wound or cut within the water from above downwards, so that water may flow on it. This way his wudu will be in order. Look at me. For example, I have cut in my hand over here. I have cut here. And this cut or wound is bleeding. The blood is not stopped. And using water to wash it is not what? Is not harmful for it. What I will do in order to make it tahir, I will imagine the cut is right here, over here, and it's bleeding. I will press this, like this way. I press this, the upper part of the wound or the cut, and put it where? In a core or jari water, or under the tap of the water. Then what I will do, I will wipe with my other finger with the water. I will wipe the parts, the wounded parts, with my finger. In this case, it is what? It becomes tahir. If I move my finger and the blood is going to bleed again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Why? Because we said before, دم الجروح والقروح معفو عنه. معفو عنه. And this blood, this wound or cut is bleeding. It is bleeding. And I washed it. That's it. That's it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Any question before I go to the second? Yes. You have the mic. Give her the mic, please. The mic. Yes.
We can use over this wood some cotton.
No. Using water to wash, it doesn't harm it. It doesn't harm it. There is no need for cotton. Now there is no need for cotton. I just want to make it what? To make it tahir for ablution. If you want to use cotton later on, it doesn't matter. But I'm talking about it right now. It is bleeding. How can I make it tahir? And using water is not harming it.
Yes, but we can using some cotton and make or perform our ablution. يعني نخلي القطنة ونتوضأ عليها.
No. That's why we call it wudu jabiri. No, this is something different. This is something different. No. أني أقدر أستخدم الماء ويا هذا الجرح ما يأثر. فعلى شنو القطن هسه؟ ما أحتاج قطن، ما أقدر أسوي وضوء جبير. أصلا استخدامي للماء عادي ما يأثر على الجرح. ما يأثر على الجرح. واضحة الفكرة؟ فماكو داعي للقطن، فقط أضغطها أمنع الدم وأمسحها بالماء، يعني خلي الماء يجري عليه وأمسحها بأصبعي، خلاص طهرت، أرجع حتى لو طلع دم بعدين ماكو مشكلة. واضح الفكرة إن شاء الله. The seventh condition is that the person doing wudu should have sufficient time at his disposal for wudu and salah. The seventh condition is that when you perform wudu, you already have time for salah being in time, not on time, not out time, not in qada. The salah will be in time. That means if I do not have time, if I'm going to perform wudu and to perform my salah, and part of my salah will be out of the time of the salah, in this case I should what? I should perform tayammum. I should perform tayammum. Issue number 286. If the time is so short that by doing wudu, the entire prayer or part of it will have to be offered after its time. It will be qada. He should perform tayammum. He should perform tayammum. But if he feels that the time required for tayammum and wudu is equal, then he should do wudu. The other thing, the other choice, he said, if I want to make tayammum or if I make wudu ablution, the same, both of them, they will have what? They will have the same time. Tayammum takes the same time as what? As wudu. In this case, perform wudu. Perform wudu. Issue number 287. If a person who should have performed tayammum owing to a little time for salah at his disposal performs wudu with the niyyah of qurba or for any mustahab act like reading the Holy Quran, his wudu is in order. This person who should have performed tayammum owing to a little time of salah, I imagine that I do not have much time for my salah. If I perform ablution, my salah will be what? Part of it or all of it will be out of the time. In spite of that, what I did, in spite of that, I performed ablution. I perform ablution. In this case, this ablution is void, and as a result, my salah is void too. No. My ablution is in order, and my salah will be in order too. And the same hukum, for any mustahab act, like performing ablution for reading the Holy Quran, his wudu is in order. Similarly, his wudu will be valid if he did it for that salah, as long as it was not devoid of niyyah of qurbah. His wudu, this wudu, if he performs wudu qurbatan ila Allah, seeking nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this niyyah for reciting Quran, for visiting the holy shrine, for touching the script of the Quran, these are recommended acts. All right? Now, if I want to perform my salah, my obligatory salah with this wudu, is it acceptable or not? Yes, it is acceptable. And this wudu is what? Is valid. This wudu is valid. The eighth condition is that one should perform wudu with the niyyah of qurbah, like to say, to obey the orders of Allah. If a person performs wudu for the purpose of cooling himself or for some other purposes, the wudu would be void. Since it is a worship act, actually a worship act needs what? Needs an intention, and this intention needs to be seeking nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, niyatul qurba ila Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By doing this, your wudu, your ablution is valid. But if you join another intention, or you make your intention not for seeking the intention to seeking nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you perform ablution for just like cooling or for cleaning yourself, or not reciting Quran. We mentioned reciting Quran, we accept that wudu. Here, this ablution, so the intention of wudu, since it is a worship act, it needs what? It needs intention. If you add to this intention something else, this wudu or this ablution is what? Is void. Because we are dealing with what? With worship act. Worship act needs intention. And the intention of the worship act is to what? Is to seek the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And seek nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs what? Needs only one intention, to obey the orders of Allah. What is the purpose? Is to seek the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No more, no less. Issue number 288. It is not necessary that one should utter the niyyah of wudu in words or think about it in his mind. It is sufficient that all the acts relating to wudu or performing in compliance with the order of Almighty Allah. When I perform, I'm talking about niyyah, intention. Either niyyah for salah, niyyah for performing wudu, niyyah for doing a worship act. This is what I'm talking about. The intention. Is the intention by uttering the words نويت الوضوء قربة طاعة إلى الله تعالى لصلاة الظهر. Or to think about it, that I'm performing this act or ablution seeking nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do I need these? No. No, I don't need this. What I need, that I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. For example, while in the process of ablution, one of you asked me, what you are doing, Shaykhana? I'm saying I'm performing my wudu for salah. That's it. This is the intention. This is the intention. I don't need any of performing the words loudly. If you're performing loudly, it's okay. Doesn't matter. But if you're not, you're thinking of it, it's okay. If you are not, but you know what you are doing, this is the intention. This is the intention. In all cases, it is acceptable. The ninth condition is that wudu should be performed in the prescribed sequence. Washing the face, washing the right hand, then washing the left hand, then wiping the front part of your head, and wiping the upper parts of your legs. This is the sequence, the prescribed sequence. That is, he should first wash his face, then his right hand, and then his left hand, and therefore he should wipe his head. Yes. And wipe the feet together. That's it. As a recommended precaution, he should not wipe both the feet together, the right feet with the left feet. It doesn't matter. It is not a problem. But as a recommended precaution is to wipe the right one first and then the left one. He should wipe the right foot first and then the left. You understand this? The 10th condition is that the acts of wudu should be done one after the other without a time gap in between. That means يعني أريد التتابع العرفي. التتابع العرفي. أكفد مثال دائما يضربوه العلماء، يقول هو دا يغسل وين؟ نعم، مثلا بالحمامات دا يغسل بإيده اليسرى، آخر شيء إيده اليسرى، مو؟ أو طلع يتمشى ليغات. هسه ليش طلعت تتمشى ليغات؟ ما عندك شيء، امسح مكان رجليك بمكانك. ما يخالف، طلعت تتمشى ليغات، بس ضل اغسل بإيدك، ضل امسح بإيدك، بحيث أنا من أشوف شو أقول؟ جاي تتوضأ هاي؟ لا، عاف إيده أو راح كأنه يمشي عادي، من هذا ما دا يتوضأ. إذا هنا وضوء شنو هو؟ وضوء باطل. وضوء باطل، انتبه، وضوء باطل. أو بينما تقدم شو اسمه washing the sequence of the ablution, she answers the phone or she opens the door, she starts to talk with her friend. This wudu is void. This wudu is void. You should take, yes.
Sir, if I'm forced to open the door, for example, I'm the only one in the house and I was performing wudu and the door was locked. Can I go to open it and then go back to performing wudu? If my hands are not dry, or the parts.
I'm not talking about the dilatation of the water. I'm talking about the sequence. If there is a gap time between this, in this case, your ablution is void.
So I can't do it.
Definitely you cannot. But if, for example, while I'm walking, the door is so near, so while I'm walking, what I'm doing, I'm wiping my left, or I'm washing my left hand, all right? Open the door and wipe my head and legs. Doesn't matter. There is no gap time. There is no gap time.
So if it doesn't take much time, it's okay?
This is orphan in our customs. If we say there is a gap time, this ablution is void. If it is not a gap, if there isn't any gap time, the ablution is okay. I'm not going to fix 5 minutes, 3 minutes, half a minute. No, it's up to you. The 10th condition is that the acts of wudu should be done one after the other without a time in between. Issue number 289. If there is so much gap between the acts of wudu that it cannot be said that it is being performed in normal succession, wudu will be void. Wudu will be void. But if there is a justifiable excuse like water being exhausted or forgetting at the time of washing or wiping, he should first ensure that all the preceding parts which he had washed or wiped have not dried up. If they have dried up, now let's go over the first part. Here, it shouldn't be what? It shouldn't be a gap time between washing the face, for example, and washing the right hand. It shouldn't be a gap time. Or between washing the right hand and washing the left hand. Shouldn't there is a gap time? Or between washing the left hand and wiping. It shouldn't a gap time unless this gap time is justifiable. It is justifiable. There is an excuse, a reasonable excuse. A reasonable excuse. But like what he said, like being exhausted or forgetting that the water will be finished, and or you forget about what? About the water being finished. In this case, he should first ensure that all preceding part, that means if I keep washing my left hand, that I should know that my face is still what? Still wet. My right hand is also still wet. That he had washed or wiped have not dried up. If they have all dried up, his wudu will be void. In this case, if I keep, for example, if I keep washing my left hand, why I do that? Because I forgot. Or I'm thinking of something. So I used to do this. In this case, the water on my face dried up. The water on my left hand dried up. Now, the wudu is void. The wudu is void. Why you do this? Why you do this? If there is an excusable, justifiable excuse, it will be okay. But if there isn't any, for example, he said, what is the justifiable excuse? Like I'm performing my ablution in front of the fan, big fan, and so fast. And when it is on, it pushes what? It pushes too much air that make my face or my right hand dry. This is not because of me. This is so. In this case, and my face dried up, and my right hand dried up. In this case, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But before that, he says, before that, you have to prefer or to know about the preceding procedures. The preceding procedures. It shouldn't takes that much time, or you shouldn't, for example, perform your ablution in front of heater or in front of a fan in order to make your face or your hands dry. If they have all dried up, his wudu will be void. But if all the parts have not dried up, then his wudu will be in order. For example, while washing his left arm, he finds that his right arm has dried up, but his face is still wet. His wudu will be valid. his wudu will be valid. Issue number 290. If a person performs acts of wudu consecutively, but the moisture of the previous parts dries up, the moisture, الرطوبة of the previous parts dries up owing to hot weather or excessive heat of the body or any other similar, just like a big fan, because his wudu is in order. His wudu is in. We explained this in the foregoing issue. Issue number 291. 291. There is no harm in walking while performing wudu. No problem. Hence, if after washing his face and hands, a person walks a few steps and then wipes his head and feet, his wudu is valid. His wudu is valid. But while he is walking, as we explained this, while he is walking, he should what? He should wash his left hand. He is washing his left hand. In order, if we look at him or at her, we will say that they are doing what? They are performing wudu. The 11th condition is that a person doing wudu should wash his hands and face and wipe his head and feet himself. That means he should do these things by himself, not with the help of somebody else, or not letting somebody else doing this for him, and he is what? He is healthy and he can do this by himself. Hence, if another person makes him perform wudu or helps him in pouring water over his face or hands or in wiping his head or feet, his wudu is what? His wudu is void. His wudu is void. Issue number 292. If a person cannot perform wudu himself, this person is helpless. Helplessness. Yes. Just like a handicapped or a sick person. Disabled. Yes. If a person cannot perform wudu himself, he should appoint someone to assist him, even if it means washing and wiping jointly. Washing and wiping jointly. Jointly, what does it mean? Washing and wiping with the assistance of the other person. Once he took water in my hand and used my hand to wash, and the other one maybe he needs to use his hand jointly. And if that person demands any payment for that, he should be paid. إذا يحتاج إنه فلوس نعطيه وإحنا عندنا متمكنين كون نعطيه. And if that person demands any payment for that, he should be paid, provided يعني he should be paid هذه أجرة. This is a fare. You should pay for him. You should pay for him. If he asks for payment, you should pay for him. لأنه أعطى الأجير أجر قبل أن يجف عرقه. And if that person demands any payment for that, he should be paid, provided one can afford and one does not sustain any loss. بشرط إنه ندفع له، بشرط إنه إحنا عندنا إمكانية إنه نعطيه، وإنه الشرط الثاني ما عندي ذيك الإمكانية، ولكن إذا انطيته ما راح يأثر علي من ناحية البجت مالتي، الميزانية مالتي، ما راح أصير فقير. أول الفلوس اللي أنطيه إياه ما راح أحتاجها بالضرورة إنه أصرفها على غذائي أو غذاء منع حينا. But he should make نية of wudu himself, this person مكلف, and should wipe using his own hands, وبالمسح يستخدم إيديه نفسه. If the person himself cannot participate in actually doing wudu, if the person himself cannot participate in actually doing wudu, إذا هو لا هو هذا المكلف هو ما يقدر إنه يسوي الوضوء بنفسه. And if he must be assisted by another person, ولازم يحتاج شخص آخر, then an obligatory precaution is that both should make the niyyah of wudu. بهالحالة اثنينهم المتوضئ والمساعد مالته إنه يسوون نية. Then his assistant will hold his hand. His assistant will hold his hand and help him do the wiping. And if that is not possible, he cannot hold his hand because his hand is broken, or he lost his hand, and if that is not possible, he will take some moisture from his hands, and with that moisture wipe his head and feet. Who is he? The assistant. Very good. Excellent. The assistant. Last issue. Issue number 293. One should not obtain assistance in performing those acts of wudu. One should not obtain assistance in performing those acts of wudu, which one can perform alone. You think, for example, wiping. He can wipe, so he does not need any assistant of wiping his head or his feet. But, for example, he can wipe and he cannot wash. So he will have the assistant with what? With washing, but not with wiping. 11th condition, that 12th condition, it will come next lesson. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعنعة.